Hi guys, welcome back to our modular design kit tutorial. We are going to look today at unwrapping our different pieces using that little trim sheet that we made in the last video. So you can see here I've got my full set of pre-unwrapped and my fresh set that we just modeled. I'm just going to take a little second just to scan through here. You can see how each of these pieces have been unwrapped. You don't have to follow this exactly. The beauty of the trim sheet is you can use whatever part you want for your textures. So for example, here you see I've got this little blue trim along the top of the wall pieces and my floors are red. There's nothing to stop you doing vice versa, having the red strip up here and having the blue on the floor. You might want to change the pattern a wee bit if you're making your own. You can also change, instead of using those same grey square tiles on the floors and the walls, you can use other parts. Such as the little brownish panels that we made. You'll see here I've also just added in a wee bit of extra decoration. We have this little ramp piece. I just put a little bit of the warning tape at the bottom. You can do whatever you want, stuff like that. In here you can see this little window piece. We've got some of those sort of stone grey, brown grey panels in here. But you can do whatever you want. But today I'm going to show you just how to unwrap some of these and how to position them using that trim sheet method. We're not really going to use any techniques we haven't seen before in any of my other tutorials, but there's a couple of new cool things I'll show you as well, specifically for trim sheets. So I'm not going to show you every single piece. I'm going to show you a couple of pieces, and then you're just repeating those steps for everything else. So I'll cover maybe one of these wall pieces, I'll cover a couple of the floor pieces, and then you can work on the rest yourself before we move on. In the next video, we will take it into Unreal and assemble it all together. So let's start with one of the simplest pieces, just a plain flat floor piece. And in fact, before we start on that, one thing we want to do is just apply a material to all our new pieces. Just press M on the keyboard, M for material, and it will bring you up the material editor. Now you might get two different screens. You might get either the compact or the slate editor. It takes a few seconds to load up. This is the slate editor. This isn't the one we want. You can use this, but it's easier to use the compact. So we're just going to take a new material. We're going to select all of our pieces. And we're just going to drag that down and assign to selection, assign that new material to everything. And then what we want to do is take this material itself. Now I'm using an older version of 3D Studio Max. This is the 2020 version. The 2022 will have a different type of material here. But what you want to look for is somewhere that says basic parameters. You'll find this little diffuse, a little color box. I think the newer versions of 3D Studio Max, they default to a physical material. Let me see if I can actually find that in here. Yes, it might be this one. So if you have this older version, I want you to click on this little grey box. Beside where it says diffuse, I want you to click on that. If you're using a newer version of Photoshop, it will default to this material instead, the physical material. And you want, again, basic parameters, base color and reflections. We've got that little color box again. We don't want the color itself, but we do want this little grey square beside it. This allows you to select a map. Instead of a solid color, it lets you select a map. Either this newer material or that older type of material, either or, a little grey square here. Open it up, we'll get this material map browser window. You want to go to the general tab and you want to find bitmap. Now again, different versions, the order of these change, maybe a bit further down the list, but the one we want is in the general tab. We want bitmap. Double click on that, and then I want you to navigate to where, let me see, navigate to where your texture is saved, just the diffuse map. We don't need the normal or the roughness map for now. We'll just leave those for Unreal. We just need the diffuse map. Now we can't see it on our material yet. If that's the case, we might just need to click this little button here, show shaded material in viewport, and there we go. We can now see that material on our individual pieces. You can see it's not unwrapped correctly. They all look a bit crazy. But that's all we need to do in the material editor. We can shut this for now. And what we want to do is take each piece individually now and change the unwrap to only select parts of the texture we want. So I've got my unwrap on here. Did we do that in the last video? I can't remember. If not, just go to your modifier tab, put in an unwrap UVW modifier so that we have one in here. We're going to open our UV editor, and your default will probably be this checker pattern. But what I want you to change that to is up in the top right here. Now you can't really see, my resolution is pretty bad. Underneath that texture checker, we will see map 1, sci-fi corridor trim sheet, the little one that we just added to that material. If we click on that, we can now see it here in the UV editor window. So let me start moving this to make it look more like this one. You can see that what we have is all these wee grey tiles. And how we do that is basically we take strips of these polygons. I'm going to go into polygon mode first of all. We take strips of these little polygons and just place them on this part of the texture. So it might sound weird, but it'll make sense in a second. So take this top strip, we're just going to hit the break button, and because it's already where we want it, we're going to leave it. But now we're going to take this next strip, we're going to break it, and we're going to move it up. Let me see, get my move tool, there we go. We're going to move it up, and you will see what happens is this also then becomes that tile. We're overlapping these on top of each other. Not something that we normally want to do, but when we're using trim sheets, we can do that. If we're making just standard objects, we don't really like overlapping stuff, but for trim sheets, this is one of the features we want to take advantage of, is actually overlapping stuff. And what you want to do is make sure that these are tight to the left edge here, tight to the corners, and we also want to make sure these are as accurate as possible. So you'll see that I'm zooming in and I'm just placing these right up close to that corner. I will take my next strip, I will break it, and in fact I'll just make it quicker. I'm going to break each strip in turn. Break, break, break. And then what I can do is I can take a strip, move it up, just to fine tune that, make sure those are both right on top of each other. Zoom out, now select both of those that are right on top of each other. Move it up to the next one, and you'll see what's happening in real time here. Now that we've placed a lot of those polys on this part of the texture, you can see we're getting that repeated over and over again. So that's the key to trim sheets. We're going to be using the same part of the texture over and over, and it's designed really for very simple plain textures. Like these tiles, like this red pattern here. It's not designed really for anything complicated, because we are effectively creating tiling. And the thing with tiling is it gets very obvious. So in order to limit that obviousness, we want our textures to be very consistent, very plain. And then we can add decals and dirt and grime and stuff to it later on in Unreal. So there we go, that's that first wee piece done. I've just taken each strip and moved it up on top here. So all 6 of those strips are now just landed on top. Now, again, you want to make sure you're very accurate in terms of your positioning here. If I just offset this one a little bit, you can see the effect that we have. If it's offset, we start to eat into that next material, that little blue strip. So we want to make sure that everything is perfectly aligned. And one good thing we can do is with this little move indicator, you'll see, well, it's quite difficult to see actually, my little gizmo, only the up-down axis is highlighted yellow, so no matter where I'm in my cursor, we're only moving up-down. If I then select anywhere else, not on the gizmo itself, and try and drag up and down, we're still locked horizontal or vertical, depending on what axis is selected. So we can click on the next axis there to move it left-right. Now I don't actually want to do that, but just to show you. Or if we go to the little center piece, we can select both axes, just select the little square in the middle, and we can move it whatever way we want. So just be aware of that. Your manipulation of the gizmo can change how you can move this. Usually I only want to move this vertically, so we'll just make sure we select the vertical arrow, and that way we can drag them down. Another wee thing to be aware of is look at the tool we're actually using here. It's just 4th tool along, freeform mode. Now we have move, rotate, scale, and then we have the freeform, which is all 3 of them combined. I find this to be the most useful one for quickly moving and positioning, scaling things. So that's the first object done. We will just come out, go to top level again. That's that. Let's look at one of these more complicated pieces. Let's look at, say, the T-junction here that we have. We will model this, or sorry, unwrap this. So this one's a little different. We have this raised area here. Actually, I'll show you the one that's already done. We have the raised area, as you can see, which is red, and we have the sort of flat to the ground area, which is going to be the grey tile, and this will click into the corners of the other pieces for consistency. Now in this old one, I've continued the red along the side, but when teaching this in class, I actually liked to add this little yellow trim around the edge. So that's what we're going to do, and it'll allow me to show you some other techniques as well. So we'll change it a little bit from what we have on display here. So we're going to select this one. I've got the T-junction piece. I am going to add my unwrap UVW map again. I'm going to open my UV editor again. And if we look down here, we can see again we've got that checker pattern. Not really very useful for us. So up in this little drop down box here, select that. Our third option down will be the texture map that we added to our material. Click on that, it'll be displayed. And this one is a little bit more complicated. What I don't want you to do with this one is to be selecting whole strips, because this will also then select these little side bits here. We don't want to select those right now. We only want these top surfaces. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to work on the little flat bit. First of all, get that, just those regular grey tiles. Now, one thing you can see is if I select all of these tiles, you can see that they are all kind of going down vertically, whereas on the texture map, they're going horizontally. Here's a little tip for you. Let's select the entire map here, and let's just rotate it horizontally, 90 degrees, anti-clockwise. And that way, if I select this strip now, you can see it's along the top. So just with one button click, we've already got one of our little strips done. And that will also mean that all our other strips are kind of aligned horizontally. So for example, this one that's already red is already in position. We don't need to move it, we just need to break it. So when we're doing these kits, if you can, try and orient them as best you can in line with your texture. It might just save you a few clicks here and there. So take this wee top strip, we will break it off. Now, I was able to drag and select this one because there were no other bits connected to it, but you'll see that everything else I select from now on, I'm going to just manually select. So for example, this little red strip here, I'm manually control clicking on each polygon so that I have it, but not selecting the sides. I'll hit break. I can leave this where it is, it's already on red. I'll take the one above it, again, manually clicking every polygon, break. Oh, give me my move indicator there. Oh, no. So fiddly, this gizmo, so small. There we go. And you can see now it's giving me both those axes at once, which is a bit of a pain. But if I just go in close, I can fine tune that, get it in perfect. Okay, and we're just going to work strip by strip. You can see I'm selecting that top surface again, hit break, move up as close as we can get it, and then we fine tune. It's kind of hard to see when it highlights it yellow, but you will manage, you will see what's happening there. Take the next strip, break, there we go. I really should upgrade my 3D Studio Max. Now what row is that? That one is just a little bit above where I want it, so just fine tune that. I really should upgrade my 3D Studio Max. I think this one just doesn't like 4K resolution. Hence why we're getting all this tiny text and tiny gizmos and things, so apologies about that. You can see our last wee strip here for that T-junction. It's not the full 6 polygons, the full 6 squares, there's only these 4. So that's all we have to select, these 4. We hit break, and we just move it up as normal. Now, we have a couple of choices here. We can leave it exactly where it is. Or we could, if you want, move it over to the very left and have it lined up with the left edge here. Either or is fine, but what you want to make sure is that it's lined up onto one of these kind of repeating patterns and align nicely. What we don't want to have is just have a bit off kilter, and you can see here now that the polygon is kind of cutting through one of these dots, and it just leaves it a bit off kilter with the rest of the texture. We want to avoid that. Just want to make sure that everything's lined up nicely. Put it in the corner against the edge, or leave it in the center where it was fine there. Okay, we just have these two wee small squares now. We can take both of these, we can break them together, just move them up to the tiles. There we go. So far, all very standard, same as before, but we're left now just with this little edge trim. So let's deal with that. We're going to deal with it slightly differently. We're also going to save our file. Remember, guys, 10-minute save rule. This is quite tedious work. The last thing you want is for your computer to crash and have to redo all this again. So save regularly. Now let's work on this little strip here. If I double click, nothing happens. Okay, newer versions, if we double click, it should select the entirety of that. Again, my older version of 3ds Max is trying to make things harder for me. But what we can do, if we want to quickly select all of that, is just make sure element mode is selected here. And in our UV window, we can then just drag and select, and that will select that whole strip. It's really weird. The newer versions, they've changed a lot of shortcuts and changed a lot of functionality. They've put in a couple of nice wee things like double click to select, but they've also removed some other stuff. It's very strange. Let me see. So we've got that whole strip. What we want to do is basically straighten this out into one long continuous strip of polygons. Let me just pull it out here. You can see what we have. We're looking kind of top down on it, so we're just seeing the edge of those polygons. What we want to do is we want to straighten this out into a long straight strip. So how we're going to do that is we're going to deactivate that full element mode. We're going to go to your edge mode. I'm just going to select one little vertical slice here, and we are going to just break that, and that will turn that green. Now if we go to our whole element mode, this is the part that can sometimes go a bit awry on us. It worked perfectly 5 times in a row when I was teaching this, and then I tried to record the video last time and it went wrong. So this is actually my second time recording this video. Let's see if it'll actually work this time. So we've got this whole thing, we've put a little snip in there, we're selecting all those polys. What I want you to click now is the quick peel option. And it has worked this time. Thankfully it has worked. We will get this long continuous strip of polygons. Now yours might come in at a slight angle. Oh come on, I hate this tiny gizmo. Look how fiddly that is. Look, I can't even get near that. There we go. Yours might come in at an angle, something like that. That's totally fine. All I want you to do is get it as close to flat as possible. And if you can't get it perfectly straight, we do want it perfectly straight. If you can't get it perfect, just hit this little straighten selection option, and it will just fine tune it, make sure it's perfectly flat and straight. You'll see here that we're starting to get that yellow texture there, but it looks very stretched, very pixely. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to select this whole thing. We are going to position this right near the bottom, and here's where we see some of the magic of trim sheets. This is one of the great features of this style of texturing. Remember, all texture maps will be repeated horizontally and vertically. Trim sheets should be designed so they seamlessly tile in the horizontal direction. So you can see here we've got the yellow here and the yellow here. These have been designed to seamlessly flow into each other. But what we can do that we haven't really looked at before with trim sheets is we can select this top corner here. You see we've got the triangle icon for scale. We can scale this up. Now I don't want to just scale it like this. I want to hold the control key, and that will actually keep the proportions. So you see it's actually getting longer as I make it taller. And as we do this, I want to go right all the way up to here. And you can see how wide that is now. It's going right out about 10 or 15 map widths, about 10 or 15 of these squares wide. But because this is tiling horizontally, this little yellow strip, because the whole thing is designed to tile horizontally, we can see that that texture is actually wrapping around. So don't think that you have to keep every single polygon right on top of this square map. That's not true. Remember that once we get to the edge, it will loop around. So we can take advantage of that, especially in the horizontal direction. And we can have our polygons hanging off to the side here, and they will continue on as we want them to. And we get this perfect little texture around the edge. So that's that piece complete. I'm not going to show any more pieces there, but you can use that exact same process for all of these. The only slight difference is for a little ramp piece. Our sides are slightly different. We might want to break these off individual sides because they're sort of different heights and things. And then we also have our tiles here. Just break off these tiles individually. This long strip, and then these two here. Excuse me, and just place them over the yellow warning tape instead of the tiles. Easy peasy. So I'll show you one last piece before we go. Just one of these thicker walls. Let me see. We'll do the plain wall here. Now the only real thing that we need to think about is we've got this thickness, and we'll put these little strips again on the grey tile, but just one square thick instead of the two. Let me see, what else can we do? We'll maybe just play with it, see what fun we can come up with. Yeah, let's just quickly do this one, and then we'll finish up the video, and you can work on the rest of your pieces. So we want to select that, and once again, add our unwrap UVW. Open our UV editor. And we have everything here. Let's just put our little texture on in the background. There we go. I'll just pull this over to see. And again, let's make sure everything's aligned the right way. So if I select this top strip, you can see it's going vertically down, and you can see we're getting the vertical stripes here already. So we know it's not oriented correctly. So we'll select absolutely everything here. We will rotate 90 degrees. And now remember that if we select everything here, it will select the whole object, back and front. Just be careful, don't try and select everything from here, because it might only select the front side for you. It's always better if you want to select everything, do it in the UV editor window itself, because it will select absolutely everything. So there we go, we've got everything selected. Let's, again, we want to avoid doing the horizontal full selection, because it will also select these sides. We're going to select them later on manually. In fact, let's make this even a bit neater for ourselves. Let's select everything. Let's just pull it over to the side here, so we can keep a nice clean left side. Let's select all view. Let's hit break, and let's slide it back over. Now, just for time, I'm not going to be as precise on this, but you guys know what to do now. Now, did that? Now that's very strange. That is very, very strange. Oh, hello, what's happening there? That is very weird. Oh, okay. So you'll notice there I selected these. I selected these here, and it was just randomly selected. Look at that, that's very strange. I've never noticed that before. Okay, so here's a little pro tip for you. When we're selecting these, it's maybe best to select the ones that we want here in the 3D viewer. Make sure we get the ones we want. When I try to select them here, aha, okay, now it's selecting the correct ones, most of them, except here. So that's very strange. 3D Studio Max doesn't seem to know if I want the near or the far one. So if you're getting that problem, no problem, just select them manually on the 3D view rather than the UV editor. Never seen that before, that's an odd glitch. But let's hit break, and let's move these over. And just position you manually. And then we'll do the same for the other side. Select these ones, break, and move over. Now we're just going to repeat that process for all of these strips on the bottom. We'll not worry about the little blue part here, we can fix that shortly. But we're going to just select and break. Select and break. Select and break. Bit tedious, but we'll select and break. You know what? I kind of like that yellow down along the bottom, so maybe just maybe keep that there for that one. Keep the bottom on the yellow, but again, we have to make sure we line it up correctly. Then we will do the same on the other side. Select and break the full strip. Make sure we don't slide down the back side there. Select and break. Select and break. Select and break. So since I've got these selected already, I'll move those onto the bottom corner. And then we can just take, let's actually just select both of these at once. They're both aligned together anyway, so we might as well move both of them at once. Save ourselves a bit of time. Let's move those up here. And in fact, let's not copy the exact same one that I had made before. Let's play with it a little. Let's see what we come up with. So I will make. And you know what? These are actually, because these have been broken now, I can select these, move them off, and you'll see it doesn't touch these wee side parts. They're still where they are. Let's take these guys. So these two trims here, two strips on each side. Let's move these down onto these. That just fits perfectly. Actually, that's great. So you can see instead of the full just the full grey tiles over everything, we can have these grey panels, and that just leaves us with the blue strip here and the edge. So the blue strip, it looks fine just at the front here, but we have these little top and side pieces. Let's play with these a little. Let's in fact, easy way to select these. Let's just select these front six, and then if I hit the grow button, where is my grow button? It's out here. Here, modify selection, grow. It will just expand my polygon selection out one amount. So because we had to select all these edges, we can grow that selection, and we'll just saves us manually clicking these extra 10 or 12 polys. We can break those then, and we'll do the same on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'll hit my grow selection button. Just expands that selection out in every direction. Hit break, and let me see what I want to do now. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to kind of unfold this kind of like a box. I'm just going to go to edge mode, select you, and you, and you, and you, and we'll hit break. I'll come to the other side here, select these top wee corners, and hit break. And if you're not sure what I'm doing, don't worry, it'll all be made clear in a wee second. I'm going to go back to my polygon mode, just double click one of these. And if I hit peel, you'll see the shape that we get is kind of like an unfolded box. So those wee splits we put in the corner just allows us to flatten out these edges here. And we'll just position that down on our blue area. Now there's two ways of doing this. We could cut off all these side pieces and just place them on top here, but I want to keep this all as one just for handiness, so I'm just going to scale it down until it all fits in the blue. There we go, perfect. And we can see we get the top and the bottom and the sides are blue as well. Just do the same for here. I'll double click on my UV editor, we'll select the whole thing, get my quick peel, and we'll position it on the blue again. Doesn't need to be in the exact same place because this texture isn't quite as obviously repeating, but we'll just scale that down. There we go. Perfect. Just leaves us with a little edge piece to do now. So if we select all of that, you'll see what we're left with just down the edge here. Again, we'll turn off element mode. We'll go to, sorry, I've got this off the screen here. We'll just select edge mode. Just select one of these edges, hit break. And now if we select, oh, did that select the right edge for me? Select you. There we are. So must have selected the wrong one there. Break that edge. It does not want to break. Okay, so that should be turning green. It does not want to break. Okay, so we might get some issues here. Let's just continue on with it and see if it goes wrong. We'll see how we can fix it. So let's take all of this. Let's quick peel. Oh, whoops, sorry, I'll not quick peel yet. I will go to my polygon mode. There we are, and a bit quick peel. Yeah, we can see we're hitting quick peel there, and it's actually still just giving us the edge. When I select that top edge, you can see when I select and hit break, it's not turning green. Let's try one of these. None of these are turning green. Okay, so we're getting a little issue. It's not letting us do that little break to get our full strip. Let me try, let me see. One thing we could do, if we're not getting that full continuous strip, which is a bit annoying, we can select our polygons instead. So I would like these as one continuous strip, but failing that, let's do 2 continuous strips instead. So just do this side, and we'll hit break and peel, and it's giving us that straight line there. So oddly, it's still showing it at the edge. It's not flattening it out for us. It should be giving us that nice continuous strip like the last one did. Why is it not? I don't know. Sometimes 3D Studio Max is just a bit of a drama queen. Let's see if we select this one and we hit quick peel. Again, giving us that diagonal line. No good, not what we want. Okay. There is one thing we can do to fix this. Let's come over to the right here, or at least I hope it'll fix it. We're what, half an hour into this video, so it'll probably go wrong just at the end. If we select one of those edges, we've got these ones here. If we hit the quick planar map button here, now this is what we always do. If we're just unwrapping a regular object, this is one of the first things we do when we unwrap. It gets rid of any existing seams. But with these polys selected, if we hit that quick planar unwrap, it also kind of acts like a brute force quick peel. So you see now we're getting the correct result. You can see now that we're getting that nice strip of polygons. And we'll do the same for the other quick planar map out here. And luckily, it's planar mapped them both exactly the same. Now, luckily, because they are basically the same overall shape, number of polygons, they should come out around about the same size. We can just overlap them like so, and they'll go right on top of each other nicely. So that quick planar map method is great when our break and our peel isn't working. Now, break and peel will work 99% of the time, but sometimes, as I say, 3D Studio Max just likes to be a little bit of a diva and not do what it's told. But quick planar map will give us a similar result instead. So let's see. Oh, I've lost my place there. There we are. Let's just rotate this horizontally. So again, we can rotate around the pivot. Let's position this. And for this one, we just want it to be one of these squares thick. So we're just going to go to our bottom corner, hold control so we can scale it up. Just make it one thick. And you can see again, we're hanging that out across the edge. Totally fine, no problem. But we may just want to select everything again. And we maybe will actually just scale this in the horizontal direction. Just a little bit. Just so that those polys kind of line up with what's happening underneath. Let me see if I can just eyeball this a wee bit. There we are. That looks nicer. Yeah, that'll do. We can probably fine tune that a wee bit. I think it's just a wee bit off kilter. If we zoom in here, yes. Scale it down a little bit more. So hard when the gizmo's so small, but there we go. Ah, that didn't even work. There we are. Good enough. So that will do us for that. This video's ran on long enough. I'll maybe end it here. But I've shown you all the key techniques we use for unwrapping here. It's just a matter of going around all the rest of these pieces and finishing them off. The walls work the same way as this one. In fact, the other walls are simpler because they are just thinner single poly thickness. All the other floor pieces work exactly the same way as the one we've done. The pillar, you might think it's complicated. It's actually easier than it looks. These are just individual wee squares. We can break those down easy enough. So if you can, unwrap all those pieces, and I will see you in the next video where we will export these and put them into Unreal. So thank you for watching. Hope you learned a few techniques from that, and see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.